Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pot Smokers Bible Channel. My name is Zion, and I'm doing this program today. It's a special program that I'm doing particularly for a young woman that I have recently met. She knows who she is. I told her that I would be doing this program today on her behalf. I'm calling it Schizophrenia, the Fight of the Telepath, in order to teach her truth, and along with her, every other schizophrenic in the world. Because under psychological terms, I would be considered a schizophrenic myself because I hear voices. But the difference between what me and her is that she gets a bunch of pills crammed down her throat by a bunch of idiots that have no idea what they're talking about. While on the other hand, I dealt with the reality of becoming a telepath. Nobody Okay, I didn't tell people at first that I was hearing voices, but I did not commit a cardinal sin. I didn't hurt myself, and I didn't hurt anybody else. So, legally, I was untouchable. As long as I didn't hurt anybody, I could be as crazy as I wanted to be. As long as I didn't hurt anybody. As long as nobody forced me to go to the psychiatrist to get put on the program of anti-telepathic pills, which is exactly what that is. Because there's no such thing as schizophrenia. As because of telepathy. Schizophrenia is a so-called disease where you hear voices, and those voices are you. No, that's total bullshit. Coming from somebody who has no idea what they're talking about. Take it from a telepath. Those voices are very, very real. And unfortunately, because of social stupidity and stigma, telepaths are in the fight of their mortal souls the moment they start hearing voices. Why? Because everybody thinks they're crazy. So they believe that they're crazy. And down they go the path of the insanity. Every voice now has free reign over the poor victim, the schizophrenic. So, I'm doing this program today in order to teach you, who are telepathics, the truth of schizophrenia. There's no such thing. Psychologists are they only have half of the story. Because Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud were both telepaths. They were both drug users. And they both psychoanalyzed on a totally different level than modern psychiatry does. If you look into the history of those two people, you will find that they were drug users. And that is the point. So, let me tell you about humanity. A little bit of history. Refresh your memory as to who and what you truly are. Okay? Now, all of our mythologies the world over all tell us the very same story. The gods came to Earth from someplace else, from above. They found the Neanderthals and they enhanced them. They created the human race in their own image, giving us their DNA. Now, these beings, these gods, those who from the heavens came, gave to us 1% of their genetic material, 1% of everything that they are, because that's all it takes. And part of that anatomy, part of that genetic material is telepathic because the gods are telepaths. That's why there's a necessity for something called a priest. So, the only means for God to speak to humanity is through telepathy, schizophrenia, what we call. So, if you're a telepath, you, in another age, before the flood, you would have been a priest, a shaman, a witch doctor, a warlock, a witch, a telepath, connected to all other telepaths in a non-verbal form of communication called telepathy. So those voices in your head are not you. They're not you. They are other telepathics, humans. They are aliens. They are extra dimensional beings that are feasting on your ignorance and your schizophrenic episodes. Now, this is the fight of the telepath in this society. Instead of being honored priests who work hand in hand with God for the betterment of humanity and for the running of the government, you are sequestered in insane asylums, taught that you're crazy, and shoved a bunch of inhibitive pills so that you don't hear the voices. But the minute the pills go away, the voices come back. Because once you're a telepath, you're a telepath. You cannot undo telepathy. Because you literally have switched on your godly 1% of your genome. You have become a hybrid of the gray aliens, who we call God and have always called God and will always call God as they came from heaven, which is what that means. They are our father race, just as the Neanderthals are our mother race. And if you are a telepath, then you have activated your gray DNA, and you have become just like God, telepathic. It is the most wonderful gift that God ever gave to us. And believe it or not, it comes in the form of marijuana. It is the tree of life from the biblical text and from other genres across the world, mythologies. Because marijuana is from the homeworld of the gods. It's not from the planet Earth. So either you, as a schizophrenic telepath, or your parents or grandparents even, somebody in your lineage smoked pot at some point, because that is how you activate the genetic part of your gray anatomy. You literally get gray when you get high, because your brain has tiny receptacles in it that only can be activated by the THC molecule. This is your gray genome. And once you smoke marijuana or ingest it, it goes into those receptacles and it activates that genome. And if you continue to use marijuana on a daily basis over an extended period of time, or conversely, a family member has done so, you activate enough of those receptacles to, to switch on the telepathic gene. Once you've activated that telepathic gene, you will forever be a telepath. Now, there is one exception to the THC activation mode, and that is survival of a psychic, telepathic variety. Okay? If you have a great trauma in your life, especially, it has to be something that has just totally devastated you. Like for me, it was incest and pedophiles. But it could be something else for others. But when you have a significant amount of emotional survival response from trauma, you can switch the telepathic gene without the actualizing of the genome. So you can become telepathic and receive all of its gifts as a survival response. But once you flip that switch and go from being Neanderthal to being hybrid, gray, then you are forever telepathic. And those telepathic beings, particularly the ones from the extra dimensions and the human ones, cause a significant moral fight within the minds of the telepaths. Now, most telepaths have a combination of the intense emotional trauma along with the drug use, which makes for a really high-powered telepath. And like me, when we activate our telepathic genes, every telepath in our vicinity, every entity in our vicinity knows about it. It's like a light is turned on in the telepathic world. Oh, there's another telepath. Let's go have some fun, shall we? Hey, why don't you go beat that person up? Why don't you go kill that person? I hate that person. And all these voices bombard you with negativity. Now, the humans are having fun. They're what's called vampires. And they suck off your energy. And so do the entities, the extra dimensional entities. Now, the dark human telepaths are eventually, if they stay their course, they're going to become dark entities like the extra dimensional entities. They will join that pantheon of darkness and go to the dark realm, and they will thrive there as if they were in the light. But then they will feed on other on other planets in the future. Because a dark entity cannot, by its very nature, generate its own life force. It's a zombie, dead, for all intents and purposes, because it cannot generate life. Therefore, it lives off of the life force of others. So, a dark human is a dark entity in the making. And they become dark entities by being bombarded with darkness through this telepathic warfare that goes on. So the minute you become a telepath, you're in for the fight of your life. So I'm going to do another episode here in just a second, so stay tuned. I'm going to pick this up. I'm not done. So may the Grey watch over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm. Till we get back. See you in a minute. Love you later. Never say goodbye.